this travel advisory, the U.S. travel advisory that's been issued against Jamaica. We have one prominent hotelier saying that this is actually impacting tourist arrivals to Jamaica. You wrote an article about it recently. David, give us the update or give us the overview of the situation.
So let's put it in perspective. So Jamaica has been classified under level 3 by the United States State Department since 2022, I believe. And that level 3 advisory says do not or reconsider travel basically, right? Level 4 is do not travel. So that would be a Haiti. So, since the advisory, it's been pretty significant in terms of the impact that has occurred to the Jamaican market. What do I mean by that? So back in February, Adam Stewart, who's also the executive chairman of the Observer and head of executive chairman of Sandals, he would have commented in that publication that the sales would have fallen, sales cancellations would have spiked up to about 45%, during that period. So January 23 is when the new updated, I should say, advisory came out, and you had that kind of fear or increased concern around that time. And between then and end of February, the cancellations really picked up. So Playa, mentioned that basically what they had to do to, not lose those sales entirely was that they said, hey, if you don't want to go to Jamaica, we can send you to Punta Cana, or which basically Yucatan Peninsula or the Pacific Coast, which is in Mexico, against the Dominican Republic. So Playa, had operations in Mexico, Jamaica, Dominic. They said, hey, if you don't cancel, send it to our resorts in other markets, make you feel comfortable. And there's a problem. Why is it a problem? Because those are tourists who are not coming to spend their money at a domestic resort for that money to multiply down through the system for the rest of the country. So Playa, which is a company that has this Jamaican exposure, has their earnings calls, speaks up, unlike most of the other listed companies in Jamaica, about any impact to tourism that might be observed, is saying that, hey, the government really needs to address this issue in terms of getting the US to reconsider its advisory or even lower the level because it is having an impact. So think about it for a second. If Playa, which is what you'd call a Sandals or a Rio or another hotel brand that has a lot deeper presence in Jamaica, is saying, hey, this is a problem, that should tell you enough. Then Playa has also pointed out that going into the summer season right now, bookings are not so hot either. So yeah, the cancellations in the middle of the winter season, and now we're heading into the summer season, and they're saying that, hey, the traffic or the bookings going into this period is pretty slowed down compared to their historical numbers. So we should remember that we get most of our tourist figures during the winter tourist period, which is like around November to like around March. And when you have that slowdown in that period, it causes a further impact in terms of the future bookings as well, potentially. But you get most of your earnings in the first period, like first quarter, and then the rest of the period is just keeping the business afloat. So travel advisory is pretty significant from the perspective that, hey, hoteliers are saying we're seeing more cancellations, less traffic coming to us. And in the April air traffic report, so for those who don't know, a Mexican company called Airport Pacific Airport Group, Mexican based, they manage your Sangster and normal international airports. They reported that for April, there's a decline in passengers from about 454,500 to 435,000 on a year-over-year basis. And there's a decline of 146,600 to 135,400 for NMIA for April. For 3 months, numbers are just going up, 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 new records every month. And April comes and it's just. And remember, coming out of COVID, we'd have had a steady, continuous increase in tourism arrivals to our main ports, in this case, to international airports. So this advisory really is concerning for a lot of hotels because there are other factors to consider. So the, the tourism sector doesn't get the best rap in terms of the hotel employees' salaries and so forth. But the thing is, we have to remember that last year there was a 44% increase in minimum wage last year. Minimum wage is going up again this year, but you also include security costs going up. General insurance has gone up pretty high as well. So as a result, the hotel operators are saying that we're getting compressed on more than one side. Slower sales, higher expenses, which what does that mean, Kalila? That means that you're likely going to see the hotels use less workers. When these hotels use less
Mm.
workers, you're gonna have these persons spending less in their local communities and so forth. And you get what I'm going, Kalila? So like the ripple effect just goes on and on and on basically. And William Afford, who is the chairman of Wasinka Group, a large Jamaican manufacturing distributor, has good, exposure to the tourism sector, said that this is a problem when a ripple effect like this happens in tourism. Because remember, tourists comes, and remember, we import most of our food to support the tourism, where they import a significant amount of food and other goods to support the tourism sector, and along with, domestic goods. When these tourists come, they go to the hotel serves them food. They're getting the local bananas, some local meat as well. Then, these persons might go to a resort, probably go to a Chucker, Dolphin Cove, probably might just grab a local taxi, a local Uber, just go around, look around, go to a Risk Cafe. So it just trickle on effects of money just going through the economy. When you have
But
these
let me ask
tourists,
you this, David. Let me ask you this. What can the Jamaican government do about this? Because they don't have any control over what the US State Department recommends. And the call is for the Jamaican government to intervene. Intervene how?
well, I can't give you that exact answer, but based on what I can interpret from the whole perspective is, I think the Kaya boss and even other tourism heads are saying the government needs to demonstrate to the U.S. State Department that hey, your advisory has caused a significant overreaction because the parts where they have highlighted in their related advisory are not near the tourist or tourist spots. So imagine that I tell you, for example, that there is a fire in half a tree, but I live in Mona. No. What does a fire happening in half a tree have to do with me living in Mona? You get the first thing, Kalila? So
Mm-hmm.
they're kind of saying that when you tell the public, or in this case, you put advisory, persons thought that the fire that was in half a tree was in Mona. So there's this massive overreaction. So they're trying to say, hey, let us discuss, and let's discuss about a potential revision of that advisory. So in the level 3 doesn't change. They're saying, hey, it's better to give a more accurate reflection of what's really happening on the ground, because Bruce Wardinsky, uh, Adam Stewart, they've and even the tourists in the different areas say, hey, in the tourist spaces, the tourists really don't get attacked or have any issues. So you might hear about it's a harassment in terms of persons trying to hickle and sell certain things to the tourists, but for the most part, tourists don't necessarily. You don't hear these stories about tourists being kidnapped or any massive injuries or attacks. So they're trying to say, hey, look, the tourists are in this isolated area of the country. Most of them live in hotels. They do go to the hotels. They go on planned excursions. They're usually safe. So, and remember, 70% of our traffic inflow into the country in terms of tourist arrivals comes from the USA. So they're trying to say, hey, even if you don't change the level 3 to level 2, just reflect it to show what's really happening from a better perspective. Kalila.
So I wanted to share, yeah, I want to share something because I saw this video on TikTok yesterday and it was a response. And I'm just bringing this up because maybe it is an example of how the Jamaican authorities can handle it and what they can actually do to be proactive to respond to this sort of situation. So I saw this on TikTok and it was Guatemala's foreign minister, no, Guatemala's tourism minister. Let me share my screen
Sure.
because there was a video going around on TikTok that Guatemala was like the kidnapping capital of the world. And that resulted in same thing happening in Jamaica, a lot of canceled bookings. People were scared. And this is how Guatemala's tourism minister responded.
Hi, Jacob. I saw your list of the top 10 countries with most kidnappings around the world. Now, I know lists are fun, but you got to get your facts straight. My name is Harris Whitbeck, and I'm Guatemala's current Minister of Tourism. Now, I know a little bit about facts because I was a journalist for about 25 years, covering all sorts of stories of war and crime, natural disasters, and political upheavals around the world for a major US television network. And you know what the biggest lesson I learned as a journalist is? Well, you've got to check your facts. Statistics from our Attorney General's office and the National Police Force in Guatemala indicate that in 2023, there was only one case of kidnapping involving a foreign tourist, and that was resolved peacefully. And so far this year, no cases of any kind have been reported. And according to the United Nations Development Program, a leading UN agency, there has been a 12.7% decrease in homicides this year. Those, my friend Jacob, are facts. So I would leave you with two things. Number one, check your facts. That's just good practice for anybody involved in media. And secondly, come see us. I would like to invite you to Guatemala. Come see for yourself that we are a country of warm, welcoming, kind people who have so much to offer to our visitors. We are a country of volcanoes, lakes, mountains, beautiful traditions, beautiful food, and we are ready to welcome you and everybody with open arms.
So that's the video from Guatemala's foreign minister reacting to basically a similar situation that Jamaica finds itself in right now. That wasn't the original video. I was trying to find the original video to see how many views and likes and comments it had. But what do
It's
you
still
think of
important.
that type of approach? Yeah.
No, it's good. And just for context, it's kind of turned into political football now from that story. There's a release published yesterday, but basically, I think there needs to be a real honest discussion and approach to, the whole crime situation and its potential perception by authorities that do not pass through the general environment. Because, as you know, the Minister of Tourism in that case from Guatemala pointed out, the reality that would have probably happened in the past or anything like that is not the reality on the ground in the current day. So some level of public I should say PR or just engagement alongside some level of updates as to what's really going on, because the reality is, as much as we love to promote sun, sand, and sea, we have to remember that there are other markets that probably might be cheaper, probably have more variety and so forth than Jamaica. So in this case, where an advisor can have such an impact on tourism arrivals and just interest in our market, it is important that we get some level of concise message out there to say, hey, this is what's really going on. Because while you might hear these stories, you might have you might have traveler influencers that come to Jamaica and explore the most dangerous spots or so forth. The reality is Jamaica might have a reputation, but at the same time, it might not be as graphic as people perceive from the other side. And that's just one of the realities that come with living in what you'd call a harsh reality on paper, but not the same on the ground.
Right. So, David, before you go, I have to ask you about Omni. It's the first IPO of the year. The viewers want to know what your thoughts are about the Omni IPO.
Well, funny thing, that's the one perspective I haven't finished reading. Busy, yes, but at the same time, I see a level of interest as prior offers. Uh, it's first IPO. Good to see them attempting to try and reduce some level, well, increase their equipment. Also benefit from the tax break. I think that they should probably revalue the land. Give a little more context on path forward. pretty competitive space, but I think this offer is likely to, just be closed, open and shut as usual, probably within
So you
one
said
to
it's a
2 days.
very competitive space, the thermoplastic space. That's very competitive in Jamaica.
So remember, PVC, for example, right? Faucet is in that space. That's one example, right? That's a listed company that is already out there. Just one simple example. You have Tankwell, you have other hardware players that are involved in that space, probably manufacture, import, but there are other large players out there that have a level of presence alongside muscle power to play. So although Foshish, for example, their sales decline in their Q1, they're still probably 2, 3 times larger than Omni. And while they benefit from having electrical sales, they are still taking a larger presence in the PVC space and looking into again other Caribbean markets. So I'm just giving that one example for context. In terms of making the pipe, in terms of making the hoses and other materials, I don't think you'd have other players in that space. But at the same time, they're showing you that there are competitors that exist in some of the products that they do manufacture, not necessarily from imports, but from their own domestic production, and they already have a pretty sizable presence. So I'm looking forward to seeing how they're going to grow themselves into a player through the tax break, the increased capital and so forth. But to be honest, I think it's gonna close, open and shut. It's not like it's an offer that has 200 million shares available for the public. It's just 120 million. Even with
Right.
liquidity, Kalila, I don't think that I was going to take long to close. Like I said, probably by next week, Tuesday, or even earlier, you're going to hear it's closed. And the market might be tight, but you have people who want to hear it IPO, doesn't matter. You're just getting it.
Right. I agree. It's a pretty small offer, even though they said 500 million, only about 120 million are for the public. So I think those are going to go fairly quickly, especially given that it's the first IPO of the year.
And the thing is,
So yeah,
even with other market offers offers that are in the market, some persons have a preference significantly for equity. So you have the MJE bond offer out right now. NCBFG just had their bond offer close last week, Monday. You have some companies offering preference shares, but for some
you have
persons,
Mayberry's bond is out, NCB APO is out, all kind of thing right now.
no, and that's just my point. So, but the thing is, those offers are considerably larger. You see, this $120 for the public specifically alone. So I don't see that massive hurdle to get that kind of money. So in any difficulty. So to be honest, I'm looking forward to just see probably by the Q3 results, which will be published around November, to see like how they're really transforming as a business in terms of growing their overseas sales as the domestic economy slows. So for the viewers on taking stock, here is something you should go and check out. Go and check out Grupo Campari's first quarter results. Grupo Campari is the company that owns J.R. Nephew. They reported that the Jamaican rum sales were down by 8.3% in the first quarter, and that's from an organic sales perspective. They mentioned that was due to a reduction in, that was really a capacity issue. Then, with respect,
I was surprised. I'm like, what? People are less depressed, so less rum selling? What's going on?
let me continue, Kalila, and this is where we have
Okay.
taken stuff. So we have a company in Trinidad called Whitco, West Indian Tobacco Company. What is Whitco? They are the company that supplies Carreras and the rest of the other BAT companies in the region with their cigarettes. In their Q1 report, their revenue was down 40%. Overall revenue, right?
40.
Yes. And then their export revenue, which is to other Caribbean markets, it was down 46%. Export sales made up 80% of Whitco's revenue in 2023, and Carriers makes up about a third of those sales. In their Q1 report, they put declining performance was anticipated over the previous financial quarter. However, the shortfall was exacerbated by decrease in volumes in January in our export markets, in particular Colombia, Guyana, and Jamaica as they manage their inventories. Now, Carreras released their Q1 report just this afternoon. And for context, Kalila, Carreras sells cigarettes like hotcakes. Their revenue was down 27% from 3.7 billion to 2.71 billion year over year, just to give some context.
So I feel like there are two ways we can interpret that. One is what I alluded to earlier, saying that people are less depressed, so they don't need to rely on alcohol and cigarettes as much. And then the other is that people just don't have the money to spend on alcohol
Ah,
and cigarettes because they're not essential items.
but you're getting onto the right point, Kalila, because when you look at different companies across the JSC, you're seeing a slowdown in Q1 sales, and you're going to see more reduction in sales because business is just down. And although SPL reported an increase in Q1 revenue, that was really driven by the pin codes business. So I'm just highlighting all of these points to kind of just put a point across, which is times are tough, and this is just where, in context, where these different economic barometers of companies, public sector companies, can give you insights into what's happening on the ground for everybody to read. So we saw Dr. Clark mention the missed targets or missed budget targets for the March tax revenues or inflows for the government. So I'm just showing you how when you see that impact from the GOJ figures, you can tie it back into different consumable items or spending to get that kind of relationship or connection or connecting the dots in a sense.
Very, very interesting stats, David. Thanks so much for joining us once again.
You're welcome, Kalila. Take it easy, everybody.